Granddaughter deserved better than silence. She deserved someone who would listen the first time she said something was wrong. I didn't, and I have to live with that. My name is Leonard. I'm 53 years old. I worked 22 years as a pipe fitter for a contractor out of Barrie, Ontario. Long days, cold sights, the kind of work that makes your hands forget what soft feels like. I'm not the type who notices things. My ex-wife used to say that about me. Not mean, just matter of fact. Len, you could walk past a burning building and stop to check your phone first. She wasn't wrong. My daughter Simone moved in with her boyfriend about 3 years ago. His name is Garrett. He's the kind of man who shakes your hand too hard and talks too much at dinner. Fills every room with words so that you never quite feel like you got to say anything. I didn't dislike him. That's the part that still sits wrong in me. I just thought he was loud. Annoying the way a television left on in another room is annoying. Background noise. Simone had a daughter from her first relationship. My granddaughter, Ren, 7 years old at the time all this happened. Stinny little thing with her mother's eyes and a habit of collecting smooth rocks from parking lots. She kept them in a shoebox under her bed. Every time I visited, she'd pull out 3 or 4 and explain exactly where each one had come from. This one from the No Frills on Dunlop Street. This one from the ferry terminal in Tobermory. She remembered everything. The power went out on a Wednesday night in February. I remember because I'd driven up from Barrie to help Simone with a leaking baseboard heater. Old unit, the kind you find in houses built in the early 90s, and the fitting had corroded at the joint. Simple job. I brought my tools and figured I'd stay for dinner and drive back after. Garrett wasn't home when I arrived. Simone said he was working late, some shift at the distribution warehouse on the edge of town. She'd been quiet when she opened the door. That kind of quiet that looks like tired but isn't really. I fixed the heater in about 40 minutes. Ren sat on the hallway floor the whole time I worked, watching me with her chin in her hands, asking questions about what each tool did. I love that kid. I told her everything she wanted to know. We ate dinner. Simone made shepherd's pie. The conversation was normal enough. How's the drive? How's your knee? Ren talked about a project at school, something about the Great Lakes ecosystem. She wanted to build a model of Lake Huron out of papier-mâché. Then the lights went out. Not a flicker. Just gone, all at once, the way power goes in winter when something on the line gives up. The kitchen went dark, and the heater I just fixed clicked off, and the house got very, very quiet. Ren made a small sound, not a scared sound exactly, something softer than that, like a question. I found my phone and turned on the flashlight. Simone was already at the drawer looking for candles. I swept the beam around the kitchen to give her some light, and that's when I heard it. Knocking. 3 knocks. Pause. 2 knocks. From somewhere below us. Under the floor. I stopped moving. Did you hear that? I said. Simone looked up from the drawer. The pipes, she said. The pressure does that sometimes when the heat kicks off. Garrett said the same thing last month. I've been a pipe fitter for 22 years. I know what pipes sound like when pressure shifts. This wasn't that. 3 knocks. Pause. 2 knocks. The same rhythm. Deliberate. Simone, I said, does this house have a basement? She put a candle on the counter and lit it. Just a utility space. Garrett keeps it locked. He's got equipment down there, tools and stuff, I don't know. She said it the way you say something you've said before and stop thinking about. Casual. Old answer. Tools, I repeated. Yeah, he's particular about his things. You know how he is. I didn't say anything. I walked to the door in the hallway, the one beside the coat closet. I'd assumed it was a closet too. White hollow core door, the kind that comes standard in every subdivision house in Ontario. Small keyhole lock. The push-button type. The kind you can open from outside with a straightened paper clip or a butter knife. I tried the handle. Locked. 3 knocks. Pause. 2 knocks. Ren, I said, keeping my voice steady. Where's Ren? I said, keeping my voice steady. Where's Ren? Simone frowned. She was just at the table. I was already moving back to the kitchen. Ren wasn't at the table. She wasn't in the living room. I called her name up the stairs and got nothing back. The knocking came again. From below the door. I don't remember deciding to open it. I remember finding a butter knife in the second drawer and jamming it into the lock mechanism, and I remember my hands not shaking the way you'd think they would. They were steady. That surprised me later when I thought about it. In the moment, I was just inside the task, the way you get on a job site. One thing, then the next. The lock gave. The door swung in. Stairs going down. Raw concrete walls, the kind that sweat in winter. My phone flashlight threw a thin wedge of light down into the dark, and I took the stairs one at a time. The smell hit me halfway down, damp, and something underneath it I didn't have a name for yet. At the bottom, a single unfinished room. Concrete floor, exposed joists above, a water heater against the far wall, and a chest freezer beside it. Standard utility setup, but along the left wall there was a wooden partition that hadn't come with the original house. New lumber. I could see the screws were stainless, no rust at all, and behind it, a sound. Not knocking now, breathing. Wren, Grandpa. Her voice was barely there. Hoarse, like she'd been using it for a long time before I came. I found the latch on the partition and it wasn't even locked, just a barrel bolt from the outside, and I slid it open and pulled the door, and she was there, sitting on a folded moving blanket in a space not much wider than a closet. Her hands weren't tied. There was nothing over her mouth. She had a small battery lantern beside her, the kind you find at Canadian Tire, and it was on its lowest setting and nearly dead. I picked her up, she wrapped her legs around me and put her face against my neck, and I felt her shaking. How long, I said. I couldn't finish the sentence. Since before dinner, she whispered. I held her tighter. I looked around the space, the moving blanket. A plastic cup with a lid. A small Ziploc bag with crackers in it. This had been arranged. This wasn't a moment of anger. This was a system. Wren, I said quietly. Has this happened before? She didn't answer right away. She pressed her face harder against my shoulder. Wren, sweetheart, you can tell me. He says it's where I go when I'm bad, she said. He calls it the thinking room. Something in my chest went very still, not cold, still. The way a body of water goes still before a storm. How many times, I said. I don't know, a lot. I carried her up the stairs. I sat her at the kitchen table and I found a glass and filled it with water and put it in her hands and watched her drink. Simone was standing in the hallway holding the candle. She'd heard everything. I could see it on her face. Not surprise, something more complicated than surprise. Shame, maybe. Or the look a person gets when something they've been not thinking about for a very long time suddenly has to be thought about. Simone, I said. Len, don't. My voice came out harder than I intended. Don't explain it to me yet. First, I need you to call 911. She didn't move. Call them, I said. Right now. She called. 2 constables arrived within 15 minutes. The power came back on while we were waiting, sudden and jarring, every light in the house snapping back to full brightness, like someone clearing their throat. Wren flinched at it. I kept my hand on her shoulder. The officers, a woman who introduced herself as Constable Devereaux and a younger man whose name I didn't catch, went through the basement with proper lights. I stayed with Wren. I could hear them below us. The sound of the partition opening again. Voices, low and careful. Constable Devereaux came back upstairs after about 10 minutes. She crouched down beside Wren and talked to her gently, the way you talk to a small animal you don't want to startle. Wren answered in that same hoarse voice. Steady. 7 years old and steadier than most adults I know. Then Devereaux looked at me. Sir, could you come with me for a moment? We stood in the hallway, just the two of us. The space where we found your granddaughter, she said. There are other items in there, behind the back panel. She paused, choosing words. We're going to need to get our investigators down here. I don't want to tell you more than that right now. Tell me, I said. She looked at me for a long moment. There are photographs and documents, the kind that suggests this has been a pattern, not just here, before this house. I leaned against the wall. The plaster was cold through my shirt. Garrett was arrested at the warehouse at 11:40 that night. He didn't resist. Simone told me that later, like it was relevant. Like how someone behaves when they're caught, tells you anything useful. What the investigators found behind the back panel of that wooden partition was a storage box. In it, photographs, printed, of children in that space over what appeared to be a period of several years. Handwritten schedules, a notebook. I was not allowed to see any of it, and I did not ask to. I knew enough. The house, I learned later, had been built in 1994. Garrett had rented it for 4 years, then bought it 2 years before Simone moved in. The partition was his addition. He'd built it himself. In the weeks that followed, I learned things in the way you learn terrible things. A little at a time, through phone calls from a victim services worker named Beverly, who had a very calm voice and the habit of pausing before she said anything hard, like she was placing each word carefully on a surface that might crack. She told me the photographs spanned a period of at least 6 years. She told me investigators were working to identify the other children. She told me there would be a long process. She told me I had done the right thing by coming down those stairs. I didn't feel like I'd done the right thing. I felt like I'd done an obvious thing 7 years too late. Simone cooperated fully with police. She was not charged. I don't know what I think about that. I don't know if what I think about it matters. She moved out of the house within days and into a women's shelter in Barrie temporarily. I helped her find a place. We don't talk easily, the two of us. We never have. But we talk. Ren started seeing a child psychologist the week after. Her name is Dr. Stout. Ann and Ren likes her. Ren told me she has a fish tank in her office with one very fat goldfish named something Ren finds hilarious and won't tell me because she says I have to come see it myself. So I went. I sat in the waiting room while Ren had her session, and I looked at the fish tank. The goldfish is named Bureaucrat. I understood immediately why Ren found that funny. She's doing better. Not fine. She's 7. She doesn't have the tools yet to process what was done to her, but she's in a safe place now. She sleeps at my place most weekends. She's still collecting rocks. She found a good one in the parking lot of the Tim Hortons on Mapleview, and she showed it to me with the same seriousness she's always had. Like the provenance of a stone from a fast food parking lot is a matter of genuine historical significance. I love her more than I know how to say. I think about the knocking a lot. 3 knocks, pause, 2 knocks. She told me later she'd heard me talking in the kitchen with her mom, and she'd made up the pattern herself. Didn't know if I'd come. Didn't know if I'd hear. Just decided she would try. 7 years old. I also think about all the times I'd been in that house before. Dinner visits, Christmas Eve the year before last. I'd walked past that door in the hallway a dozen times. I'd looked right at it, assumed it was a closet. I should have looked harder. That's not me punishing myself, it's just true. We decide not to look at things sometimes. Not because we're bad people. Because looking has consequences, and consequences are uncomfortable, and it is so much easier to hear it's just the pipes and go back to dinner. Garrett is awaiting trial. I won't say more than that because the case is ongoing, and I was told to keep my statements limited. What I'll say is that the charges are serious, and the Crown is not treating it as anything other than what it is. The morning after it all happened, I drove back to Barrie on the 400 in the dark and the cold, and I pulled over once, just south of the Innisfil exit. And I sat with the truck running, and I thought about my granddaughter in that concrete room with a dying battery lantern and a bag of crackers, and the patience to knock in a pattern and hope that someone would finally pay attention. I thought about Beverly from Victim Services saying I'd done the right thing. I thought about my ex-wife saying I could walk past a burning building and stop to check my phone first. I thought about Ren's rocks. Every single one of them cataloged, location memorized, important for reasons that are entirely her own. If you have a child in your life who tells you something is wrong, listen. If they can't tell you, watch. Watch for the things they've stopped saying. Watch for the way they go quiet when a certain name comes up. Watch for the way they hold themselves around certain people. Children don't have a language yet for what's being done to them. But their bodies know. And they find ways to knock. You just have to be the kind of person who comes down the stairs.